There we go. And welcome everyone to a new international homeroom. Today is the last meeting that we have on this semester. Thank you to everyone that's watching us live. I know that some of you will join us in the following minutes. And as usual, remember that you can rewatch this in the TC Come Together website in the past events. And there's a link on it on the student wellness site as well. My name is Pierluigi Bellini. My pronouns are he, him, his, and I'm the Student Support and Counseling Coordinator. And I am here like every Monday has been for the end of the semester with my fantastic partner of Student Support and Counseling, Silvia.
Hi, everybody. Welcome again to the International Homeroom. Thank you so much for joining us again this week. My name is Silvia, as Pierluigi said. I'm a doctoral student in the counseling psychology program. Very happy to be part of the student support and counseling, and my pronouns are she, her, and hers. And we are very, very happy to have today again Yocasta with us.
Hello, everybody. I'm Yocasta Brens Watson, and I am the director of the Office of International Students and Scholars. My pronouns are she, hers, and hers, and I am delighted to be here. And no, this is not a last installment. I don't care what anybody says. I go off script here and say, we're going to keep this going one way or another.
Thank you, Yocasta. It's always great to have you to answer many of our questions and worries and concerns about visas and other legalities and documents that we as international folks here have to consider. And we also have a special guest today. Thank you so much, Trish, for joining us.
Hey everyone, I'm Trish McNicholas and I run the college events office at TC, and my pronouns are also she, her, and hers, and I'm glad to be here and answer any questions that you may have about the virtual convocation ceremony.
Thank you, Trish. We're very happy to have you, and there couldn't be a more perfect topic to end this round of international homerooms on the TC Come Together platform than the convocation, than the graduation moment for so many of you. So just remember, as we always say, that you can send your questions live on the Q&A option that you have on the bottom of your screen here on Zoom. You can also send them through the chat that's also on the bar at the bottom of the screen. And you can still use, even if we're already started this meeting, the Google form. You can still send your questions anonymously through bit.ly/international homeroom. So you have all those options to interact with us. And as usual, we're going to start with, and you may not know this, Trish, but we always start our international homeroom with a relaxation, mindful, important wellness connection exercise that Silvia masterfully gives us to us every Monday. And beware that she's always asking the guests to participate as well. Right, Silvia?
Yes, especially today, I will definitely ask all the panelists to participate. And of course, all those who are watching us live to please participate too. Because mindfulness, as we have been talking here, and also at Everett Cafe, we have been trying to really explore this concept as paying attention, as focusing on one single thing, focusing on the present moment, things that are in the here and now for us. And mindfulness, to be present, to be non-judgmental about things that are going around us, can be also exercised in our words and things that we say to each other, to ourselves, and how words do have an impact in our relationships, in how we view ourselves. So a few weeks ago, we did talk about gratitude and really being able to, in the midst of everything that we are living that is so uncertain, that is everything's upside down. With the convocation, for example, our topic this week, it's everything so different and not as expected. And yet, in the midst of all that, how important it is to find beats of gratitude and beats of feelings of thankfulness, and how we can say and acknowledge that. So because we are in an international community, so diverse, we come from so many different places, and we speak different languages too. So I want to invite us all to do a mindful thanking, which is basically us saying thank you in our different languages. So we are so blessed here because I can speak my native language that is different from Pierluigi's, which is different from Yocasta, and is different from Patricia. So I want to invite each one of us to take turn and say thank you on our own language and really trying to pay attention to how it sounds, what it means in our own language, the underlying meaning. For example, in Portuguese, the word that we say for thank you has also a binding obligation towards the other person. It's not saying thank you. It also has this understanding of I'm binded to you to pay you back somehow. So it's important for us to be mindful of those things too. So I will go first, then I want to invite Pierluigi and then Yocasta and then Trish to simply say thank you on your native language. Is that okay for you all? Okay.
Yes.
So we do this one round and a second round, and during our second round, I want to invite all our attendees to say thank you, type it up on the chat box, thank you on their own languages. Is that okay for you all attendees? Great. So I will start with Portuguese, my language, and we say obrigada.
In Italian, we say grazie.
I think you're supposed to say what the meaning is for you, Pierluigi.
I thought that was the second round. I'm sorry, misunderstood.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Maybe I wasn't
Is
paying
it?
attention. That's probably me. Okay. So in Spanish, the word is gracias.
And of course, in English, it's thank you.
So I shared already, obrigada has also an underlying meaning that I'm binded. I should pay back. I should keep in mind of what this other person did for me so I can do something back. So there's this relationship piece to thank you, saying thank you in Portuguese. Is there anything special for you in Italian, Pierluigi?
Well, I think in the word grazie, which is obviously now it makes sense in English too, there's, it's really just saying graces, like, graces to you. So I think there's a spiritual component of it, and it's a kind spiritual component that makes obvious sense with Italian culture and religious background. But I just really like that, it gives, to me, has a soft sound to it. When I've been using thank you for so many hours of my day, saying grazie just to me has a different, a softer approach to it, like a softer sensation on it.
Thank you. What about you, Yocasta?
And so, as you can hear, gracias, very similar to grazia, and those words have sort of a very similar root. And one of the things that I love doing is looking at the Greek roots of certain words in Spanish. And Pierluigi, you're on the right track. It is about grace and giving thanks in a more spiritual sense, and that is the root of that word, which is something that I absolutely love. Because we use it so much in the Spanish language, and it's a way of relating to others and saying anything that you do for somebody, small, large, it doesn't matter. It's a form of grace that is being bestowed upon one.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Thank you. Gracias. Trish, what does thank you brings to you in terms of feeling, meaning?
Well, nothing as lovely and lyrical as we've heard here so far, to be honest with you. I'm more of a fan of, I don't say thank you as much as I say thanks so much. And I feel like that there's a little bit more feeling in saying it that way. I was also a fan when I'd be in Italy saying grazie mille. I would say that more. So maybe that's more of a personality thing on my part, but I guess that's one good thing about English, right? You can put a lot of spin on the language.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. And thank you also students who shared a little bit. Jie, am I saying right? Jie, for Chinese, Mandarin. Thank you for sharing that too. And let's bring also how we say thank you, how we communicate, express, not only using our words, but our activities, our actions. So that's what I had prepared for us. And of course, thank you for this beautiful year that we had together.
Thank you, Silvia. And I think, mindfulness has been something that you've always brought into these little spaces to begin our international homerooms. And I think it just makes a whole lot of difference if you're very mindful of what's coming out of you with those expressions. And if I think thank you was such a brilliant thing for, closing the circle of the international homerooms for now, Yocasta. But even, something that to me as an international person arriving to the US always was so curious was the how are you? Everyone just says, how are you? Immediately as an automatic coda to hello or hi. And very few times I would find that people are actually mindfully expressing concern for your well-being and asking, how are you? So I always think of mindfully of that too. If I'm saying, how are you? I will, be mindful of expecting an answer, and that my body language and my expression is granting a space for someone to say very well or not so good. There's COVID-19 pandemic outside, so maybe not so great.
Yeah, totally. That makes a lot of sense. So yeah, thank you all who participated. Let's try to bring that to a week that just started.
And, speaking of COVID-19 pandemic, this has been changing all the operations that we've all have been doing as students, as faculty members, as staff members, and definitely on the students. And one of them that probably changed the most in terms of our expectations is that fantastic moment when you finally finish your degree and your finals are actually finals of your whole program and you're done. You're set. You've done all the exams you could have done and all the effort, time, money, and changes in your life that you've put through to get this degree is finally rewarded with, well, obviously your degree, but also with a very particular way of celebrating that, which is the convocation. It's this graduation ceremony that I think as immigrants, as foreign people to the US, we've also always watched on these TV shows and movies, and this very American graduation is such part of a university experience that we assume we were going to get the moment we take the chance on a degree in the United States as it happened. But something else that happened was COVID-19, and that once again made a lot of changes. And that's why we wanted to wrap up the international homeroom experiences with the lovely presence of Trish to have all answers to the questions you might have on this convocation. I think there's been a lot of buzz on what this virtual graduation will be like, how this convocation will be. I hope by now we're all went into convocation, that tc.columbia.edu, and there's this big expectation of what's it gonna be. And we have Trish today to answer your questions and to maybe also discuss how this might be feeling for a lot of you who are experiencing this. I'm very excited to have Trish with us today because I also want to know a lot about this ceremony, this celebration that we'll have virtually. And once again, feel free to share your questions and doubts. We are here for you at this stage as well.
You're mute, Trish.
Thank you so much for having me. It's really great to be here. And I take a lot of what you said so to heart. I mean, for students who were had this expectation of what graduation would be like, and the expectations of their families and their friends, and that day is so important. And from the small rituals of, getting your hair done and making the reservation for dinner and picking people up from the airport and, all of those things. And then, you kind of all come together, you're out of your normal routine You're not going to work that day. You're going to go to this sort of very majestic place and, have a celebration. And that's just not happening this year. And so, we've heard so much for students about, how upsetting that is. And it's gutting. And really our hearts are broken alongside the students. I mean, because this is not how you want to end the year. And so, when the team, and it's a small team of people who work on convocation, we all talked about it and we thought, a lot of schools were saying, well, we're going to do a virtual ceremony. Like it was this knee-jerk thing. We're going to do a virtual ceremony. We're just going to, and we weren't so knee-jerk as an institution to say that. We waited a little while and thought about it and thought, like, can we really do a virtual ceremony that's, not a replacement, but could it be an appropriate celebration for our students before we announce something? So the president did announce the virtual ceremony, and we had some ideas of what we could do. One being that we would want it to mirror as much as what the students would experience in the cathedral as possible, but with some enhancements. So to I don't know, make up for the fact that we're not in person, maybe, if we could. So there's some aspects of what will happen in the virtual ceremony that's similar to what you would have had or what you would have experienced in the cathedral. And then there's some extra surprises and some different things that I won't even disclose here, so that people can be surprised when they experience the ceremony. But, there are people who think, virtual ceremony is not a replacement. And I don't think that we think it's a replacement. We just think it's a celebration of the students. And that we really hope everyone will join together and have watch parties, even if they're virtual watch parties. The date is Wednesday, May 20th. It's at 8 p.m. And the reason why we selected 8 p.m. was we were trying to get as many time zones as possible to be able to watch the ceremonies. So it's 8 p.m. here, but it's 8 a.m. in places in Asia. That was something that was really on our mind. And so that's why we picked 8 p.m. So anyway, so that's sort of how the virtual ceremony all began. We wanted as many people to see it as possible, and we wanted it to be as much of a celebration as possible. So those are sort of our two guiding stars in this. And then we thought, how else could we make it special? What other things could we do to make it more interesting? And so we have some special things that are different that will happen during the ceremony. For example, we'll have 3 student speakers in the ceremony, and that's really exciting because we wanted as many students as possible to have a role. So anyway, so that's, I don't want to give too much away because, you want people to be surprised next Wednesday, but let's see, do any questions yet? Or do you guys have any questions about it?
Yeah, I actually do have some questions, Trish. So next Wednesday, 8 p.m., how can students and family access? Do they have to do any type of registration, any type of sign up? How does logistic work to have access to the ceremony?
That's such a great question. There's no pre-registration. These are some questions that we're getting on our convocation email. You don't have to wear academic attire to attend. You just can turn on your laptop, go to the convocation website, and that's tc.edu/convocation. And then you'll see that there will be the video screen within the screen, and you'll press play. But let's talk about that a little bit. Let's talk about the website a little bit. The website has been redesigned entirely, and it's going to be launched today at 4 o'clock. So in about 40 minutes, the new website will go live. And the new website, for those of you who saw the old website, which we know hundreds and hundreds of students went on the old website is totally different. And there's very little facts and figures on the new website. It's really a place to celebrate students and for students who are graduating to celebrate their time at TC. So there are messages from faculty to students and staff to students, from students to faculty. There are photo galleries. There's all this kind of fun stuff that we put up there. It's just a way to celebrate the students. So I would encourage everyone to go look at the website today at 4 once it's live. And then that is where they go to next week on Wednesday to access the ceremony. Now, the ceremony is not live. The ceremony has been videotaped. But you won't be able to watch it until 8 o'clock next Wednesday. That is when we'll release it. If you, so you'll have 3 options, or actually 4 options to watch it. You can watch it through our website. If you require ASL sign language, there'll be an option for that. If you want to watch it on Facebook as part of a watch party, there'll be an option for that. And then lastly, if you live in China, there's also an option to download the ceremony and watch it on your own device. There are a lot of players that we'll be using here for people to watch the video here, and they don't play in China. So we'll be able to make sure that everybody, no matter where they live, will be able to watch this at 8 o'clock next week. So.
That sounds great. And I don't want you to spoil anything, but I was wondering, would there some walk by students or any mentions of students' names graduating?
Yeah, so I could definitely tell you the things that will happen, right?
Okay.
I mean, I'll tell you some of the things that will definitely happen. So Tom Bailey will make a speech. There'll be 3 student speakers. These are all things that would normally happen in a ceremony. Although typically there's only 1 student speaker at a time, but we stayed on track for our 3 master students. There'll be a musical interlude that will be presented by one of our students, a really beautiful performance you guys are going to love. And then at the end, all the students' names will scroll on the screen. So we have about 2,000 students that are graduating, so we can't name, we can't read all their names, but they'll scroll up on the screen. So you can take a screenshot. They'll be organized by degree. So they'll be alpha by degree. That's how they'll go. So MA first, PhD last. And then on the website that day, we'll have the printed program will be available. So then students can actually see their names in the printed program. The printed program will be translated into Mandarin and to Spanish as well. And they'll be posted on the website. So the website will have English, Spanish, Mandarin programs available the day of the ceremony.
And I think, Trish, you might have already answered this, what you just said, but one of the questions that was sent prior through the form was, do I have to have my webcam on for the ceremony? So I'm wondering if they meant, do I have to, have everyone in my house like dressed up and ready around the webcam? But I think you just said, if I got this right, the ceremony itself, it's pre-taped, so there's no need for the student to have the webcam on. They will be viewing the ceremony with you.
Yeah, that's right. So they'll view the ceremony. The live component is very scary. And we have embarked as a department on a lot of live activities since the end of March, and it doesn't always work. And it really doesn't always work. And we really didn't want convocation of all things not to work. And so we made the decision early on to videotape the whole thing so that students could also have the opportunity to start and stop it when they wanted, and watch it with their family, and so anyway, so that's, they don't have to have a webcam on, no one can see them. That is some of the questions that we're getting. So you don't have to wear academic attire, but if you want to, please do. And then we have a special hashtag that we've created for Convocation, which is Come Together TC. And so we do ask that you take pictures of your watch party and post them on social media so we can all kind of feel like we're all still together. So yeah, I think that togetherness is the important through line to this.
Yeah, I was going to follow up with that exactly question. How can students and families, because sometimes families are not even together, unfortunately, due to many implications of this crisis. So how could they participate live, even though the ceremony has been recorded?
Well, so if you join a Facebook Live, like a watch party on Facebook Live, so you can all watch together, you can comment together. So that's one of the reasons why we're doing this other viewing option on Facebook. So you can jump on that, and then you can comment. We've been working on getting a chat feature added to the Convocation website as well, so that you can chat. So there's some technical difficulties with this, and we're trying to work them out. Literally, my next phone call is about that today, is trying to unravel this problem. So we want students to be able to engage. That's one of the really fun things about the TC, the live stuff that we've been doing is the chatting. So, when we have like a great singer or, a wonderful faculty program that we're doing live, it's so great in the chat feature to see people engaging and then, asking questions or just like showing appreciation, and that's been awesome. So we want to make sure that we can maintain that, but it's not so easy in this case. So we're working on that, but for sure you get that in Facebook Live. And then of course, post your pictures on Instagram, post your pictures on Twitter, use the hashtag, and then TC reposts and regrams that. So, we kind of, everyone then gets to see that content as well. So we'll have teams that will be keeping on track, paying attention to the hashtag, and then regramming and reposting all through the night.
Thank you, Trish. And I think, this, both the questions that were submitted and what Silvia was saying right now is a big part of this feeling, that this moment of triumph, of success and conquer of your degree is not only of the student, but it's also of the family, and the friends and the people that are celebrating with you. And on that term, I really wanted to point out that by having this ceremony in its virtual version, I think actually you will be able as a student to have more people in the same experience as you. And, speaking from someone who graduated just a few years ago, the tickets, and I'm sure Trish will agree with me, was always an issue, that you can only basically have a small competition with your family and friends of who will get the tickets to be with you at the convocation. And I think by shifting out of what's happening in the world with this pandemic, by shifting to this modality, we're, by closing the doors of the cathedral, I think we're actually opening the doors of so many more people around us to share this moment at the same time we are, in the same way we are. And, the student that was asking, is the webcam going to be on? And clearly not, because this is going to be from a viewing perspective. I would really, really suggest, embrace this moment and dress up as you want to and have the celebration with your family, and just savor this moment with all the accessories you want to have, the music, the dinner, the drinks, the toast, and all your family, have those 12 cousins in your house to watch this moment with you all. Because honestly, you wouldn't be able to share with so many people at the same time if this was at the Cathedral on 1/10. I don't know if Silvia, you have as well some ideas on it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think for me it was similar when I was graduating from the master students. There's just a specific amount of people that you usually can invite, and at least this format, you can literally say, hey, everybody, I'm graduating, do you want to watch it? And that's really, really cool. And one thing that comes to me as the question too is, Trish, for how long would that video will be available? For example, unfortunately, my grandma could not watch at 8 p.m. Can she watch the following day on Thursday?
Yeah, yeah, of course. I do want to get back to some of Pierluigi's points, but I'll just answer that really quickly. Yes, we will have the archive of the video that people can watch on demand. It'll be easy to find. It's not like it's going to be archived in some tough place. So you'll be able to watch it anytime you want and, fast forward through it. But we are hoping that everyone will watch it, as many as they can, at 8 o'clock that night. So, I'm sure a lot of people who are watching this and people who are on as panelists, maybe people who've had birthdays in quarantine or other occasions, babies born, etc. And I think we're getting better as a society at thinking about and figuring out ways to make these quarantine celebrations better. My daughter's birthday was early in March, and I don't think we were not early in March, but in March at the beginning of the quarantine. And I don't think we were as good at this then. But now I see birthdays are really different now. And like in my neighborhood, people get in their cars and they make like a birthday parade in cars, and they hang signs out the windows, and they play music loud, and they, are hanging out of the car and stuff. And I think that's awesome. I think that's awesome. And it's different. And maybe some people think it's a little odd, but I think that, as humans, we adapt, and, you have this tough situation and you adapt. And I think this is not the convocation ceremony people thought they were going to experience, nor is it what we thought we would offer our students. And yet here we are. So to the extent that you can celebrate, and as Pierluigi said, put your fancy outfit on. You have your laptop open, and then maybe you have if your family doesn't live with you, your friends don't live with you, you have your FaceTime on your iPhone. And so you are all watching it together, and so you can see them toast you. And I think that that's all important. And it's just a different set of rituals than you would have had in another year. So, get your bottle of champagne, get your dinner delivered from your favorite restaurant, and really enjoy the moment, and know that, while, this isn't what we thought it was going to be, you still achieved this huge thing. And no one can take that away from you, and nothing can take that away from you. And so it's different, but it can be great. It can be great. You don't have to worry about parking. And you don't have to worry about, trying to find your Uber outside the cathedral, which is a full-time job, let me tell you. You don't have to worry about, as we talked about, any limitations on the number of people who can participate with you. There are no tickets to this. And so there are some, small but present silver linings to this cloud. And I think it's important to enjoy the moment. I have a friend who had had a graduation over the weekend, and she watched her virtual ceremony. And her family decorated the whole house, and they made a brunch, and they had mimosas, and right around the computer where they had they put it on the large screen TV, they put up a banner and balloons and stuff. And yeah, that was awesome. That was awesome. And her family really supported her in that. And I think that that's important.
Yeah, I think it's like we're saying, this is changing for everyone. We've received a couple of not questions, but comments from the students through the forum as well, who were obviously expressing their frustration, their disappointment in this not happening, because what we say, we really feel the struggle and the disappointment and the frustration. And the best we can do, from our seats of supporting counseling team to try to bring to you is, how can we, which is, I'm sure Silvia will agree, something we do many times in counseling ourselves, how can we reframe this to a healthier way to perceive this? Because, honestly, it's going to be very easy to sit on the sad side of this and carry this memory that yes, it includes a big ceremony that we've all wanted, and like some of you put on the form, this big fantasy that we had. But what you're really celebrating here is not that hour and a half, those 2 hours. You're celebrating that year, the year and a half, those 2 years, those almost a decade if you're in a PhD program that you've been doing this. And that celebration, again, will be different, but it shouldn't be so negatively colored by this situation. So please, let's do our best to reframe this into what we're actually celebrating here. And just like we've been saying last week in the International Homeroom with Heidi about how this situation will impact the job market and how can we use it as a way to represent ourselves as resilient, as stronger, as smart, and very astute in a redesign of ourselves and rebranding of people. I think this is a good opportunity for that as well. And, you know, what a moment to be closer to your families, even in your own country, and to share also the disillusionment that not the convocation, but the pandemic has brought to everyone in all of our lives, and your parents' work, and your sister's newborn celebration, and your friend's wedding, and all of those things that change for everyone. And this fantastic, great moment in your life when you got your degree from TC was also part of this bigger than you moment in the world. And so many people will be able to relate to that pain, to the disappointment, but also to the triumph. And maybe that night, that Wednesday at 8 p.m., let's join everyone in the triumph. And the following day, we'll be here with Silvia to have our sessions and talk about the disappointment, but let's all join together. Let's come together on the Wednesday, on that triumph, on that part of we can connect to this experience, this very unique experience with so many people, including your classmates. So let's try to do that. I know it's so hard, and I can't imagine how I would have reacted that if this would be my situation. But I know the people I would relate to would tell me, let's reframe this on what's the good part of this. How will this make us unique graduates from TC, this cohort that's graduating in this convocation on 2020?
Thank you, Pierluigi. I just want to say that was, you know, so well said. I think there is so much value to this, to the idea that, okay, so we have an entire generation plus our graduates that are connected by this event. And there is comfort in that. There is comfort in knowing that you didn't go through it alone. You're not alone in the feelings attached to this. And that you have that, you know, bigger than life connection to everybody else that has experienced this isolation and, you know, and this crisis. So, I mean, as I'm listening to you speak, I'm thinking of, you know, not just our graduates at TC, but high school graduates and, you know, kindergarten graduates. You know, schools have, you know, moving on ceremonies for the little ones just to try and get them, you know, encourage them for what's to come in the future in their education. And I'm thinking of all of them and how they are also transcending, you know, this difficult time. So I thank you for those words. I think, you know, our students will also appreciate it. And, you know, it's a long way to come from wherever you are in the world for this. And, you know, in many places this isn't celebrated, but once you arrive here, we sort of push it so much. You know, we say to our students, this is the culmination of your studies. So we're cheering for you, we're cheering for our students. And I can't wait to see, you know, this convocation, Trish. I know you and your team are always so amazing at putting programs together. And I know that so much effort has gone into this. I'm so looking forward to it. I am going to be dressing up on my best, and I am going to break out the champagne in celebration of our students. We were planning on doing sort of a celebratory tea time or breakfast for our students this year. It would have been my first year doing it. So, you know, I am incredibly disappointed about it, but I am getting ready to just, you know, I will put on my best Sunday dress and I am going to break out my champagne and maybe prepare a nice meal for myself as I watch at 8 p.m. because that's around the time I have dinner anyways, and I will be commenting and joining the watch party. So I'm looking forward to this.
Thank you, Yocasta, for saying that. I think we have been trying to say to our students, to international students specifically, and I'm included, to telling myself as a student that we didn't want to be that way, and yet there are a few things that we can't control. We can't control that. What we can control is, okay, let me embrace this beautiful ceremony that events are putting together. And we're so grateful for this whole team. Trish, thank you for all your effort and your work doing that. And really appreciative of all what TC has been doing for us all. And shifting gears a little bit, Yocasta, we had some questions about, about international students that are actually away. They decided to go away in the middle of the semester, home or outside other places, but still have their stuff here. And eventually will have to come back to either terminate their lease, or they were applying to OPT. So what are some things they have to consider? Any updates on the status of the consulates and how to move around being able to have the documents to come back to the US?
So thank you for asking that question. So a couple of things that are going on. We've been hearing a lot of rumors about consulates reopening, but we've also received official word from the Department of State that that is not the case. There are some emergency situations that they are considering and looking at those applications. I think in China, there are, that is the one place where they are looking at emergency situations, but it's not all of the consulates. It's only very specific posts. So, it is worthwhile for students to connect with the embassy directly or the consulates abroad and see what is happening there. But the official word is still that they are not reopened for full services. So that is one thing. The other question, I know it's an important one, is for those students who have completed their programs or who are completing in May, who are outside of the United States. How can I come back? And the Department of State has made it very clear to us that if you are done with your program and you don't have optional practical training or you don't have a valid visa, then you should be coming back as a tourist, as a visitor, to move your things back, and they're expecting for people to do that. Now, if you're on optional practical training, obviously if you have a valid visa, you can return, you can do it. If you haven't applied for practical training, but you want to apply for practical training, we're still advocating for the USCIS to give us a definitive answer on this because their policy, the regulations, is that you have to be present in the US in order to apply for the practical training. And we're saying, well, what if students cannot come in and many of them are not able to do so? Give us an answer. They have been very evasive about this question, and I know it is frustrating for our students. It is frustrating for us. Believe me, we want to give you a yes or no answer on this, but we have not been able to pressure them into an answer. Our professional organization is also advocating on the behalf of the students. As an institution, we're advocating on your behalf to see if we can get them to give us an answer. It is frustrating all around. So as of this moment, I still unfortunately have to say you have to be present in the US for us to do this. And so of course the follow-up question is, how do I get in? And I am really, truly sorry. I think you need to continue to, contact the consulate and see if you can get a visa, if you don't have already a visa, to try and come earlier before your program ends. I cannot extend your program if you are finishing in May because of this issue. We have to have a valid, direct COVID-19 reason for us to do that. For example, you were ill, and because of this illness, and that is the reason why you cannot finish on time. So if you are in this particular situation, please contact us, and we're going to continue to try. And as soon as we find out, I promise we will send out a message to everybody and say, yay, doors are open. But as of right now, that is still the issue. Having said that, again, if you're able to obtain a visitor's visa and you're done with your program and your intent was not to apply for OPT, and you're not waiting for us on that answer, you can come back as a visitor and retrieve your belongings.
Thank you, Yocasta. And I think we have a couple of last questions that were sent through the forum. And I'm assuming that because we got more questions sent than people attending live, so I'm assuming this is finals week. So I totally respect that. And as you know, you can rewatch this International Homeroom to see what your questions were, how your questions were answered, both on the TC Come Together website in past events and on the Student Wellness website that will direct you in the events bar directly to that. So the first one, which I think I'm gonna try, actually, let's behave to answer myself, because someone was asking if the issue with an in-person ceremony of graduation would be the amount of people allowed in a room. How about splitting the ceremonies into even shorter ones that wouldn't sacrifice post-convocation celebration like photo takings or shaking the hands of President Bailey? To which I think this is, once again, our frustration and our disappointment speaking. But if you really think about it, that wouldn't happen even in a short number people attending ceremony. I really don't think that because of health guidelines, you would be able to shake President Bailey's hand or anyone else attending the ceremony, really. I also think everyone would not only be limited in the number of people attending, but would be separated by the famous 6 feet between them. So you really would be looking at a ceremony where you'd probably be 10 people in a classroom, separated, not being able to hug each other, shake hands, hug the family of your friends that you're just meeting today. And you wouldn't be able to do much more than stand up, probably walk around, and then sit down in your chair. So this is a moment to also, I understand the place where it's coming from. And let's take a deep breath. Let's remember all of Silvia's mindfulness exercises and then think, okay, but this that I'm thinking, how well would it be suited to current reality? And you might be able to see that some of those magical moments wouldn't happen anyways, even if there would be a way that TC would find to still have people on board. And maybe that's why also it's taking so long to come up with a decision for the fall, because all of these little shades of how guidelines will be implemented have to be taken into consideration for running an operation smoothly.
If I could, I just want to add.
Yes.
I just want to add to that the handshaking, because when I worked at NYU, in my last job, there was another outbreak. I think it was H1N1 at that time, and none of the deans or directors of any of the NYU schools were allowed to shake hands that year. So, I think it would be unlikely that handshaking would happen. I mean, I think that that's probably, pretty clear. I think what we've been saying to students is, obviously we'll be guided by the CDC and the governor of New York State. And I think what's maybe very frustrating for students is they see, well, my friend goes to, I don't know, I'm just naming a school, Notre Dame, and they're having a ceremony. And why aren't we? Or I talked to my friend at Harvard and they're having a ceremony, or their dean has committed to a ceremony in person in the fall. Why can't we? And I think to also remember, New York is in just a very different situation than a lot of other places in the country. And so that's one thing. And there have been a lot of schools who have committed to, early on committed to a ceremony. And now I think probably they're going to have to back off that. And I think that that will create like a second round of disappointment for students. And I think that could be very, very distressing for people. And I think that the President Bailey's approach has been very cautious. And I think that that's probably the right thing to do and to really manage people's expectations. because I think a second round of disappointment would be really just too much for for students to bear. So it is cautious, and I understand the frustration in that. I totally do. But I think we'd rather give good information than bad information, right? Like, inaccurate information. So I think that's an important thing. And also, I mean, what are the trade-offs? Are the trade-offs, okay, well, because of social distancing, we have to keep 6 feet in between everyone. Graduates can come, but guests cannot. I mean, is that a good trade-off? I don't think so. I don't think that's a good trade-off. So, it's dynamic, and it's frustrating to everybody to have to just wait and see. And that's really frustrating. And that's kind of where we all are. Like today, the governor posted really good information about, what areas of the state are able to reopen on May 15th. And it's only 3. That's it. And they're like nowhere near New York. So New York City. So, it's frustrating, and we get it, but it's in the end for everyone's safety.
Thank you for saying that, Trish. And I have the last question on the form before. I don't know, Silvia, if you want to address the question that was on the chat before we go as well with Yocasta, but someone said from the clinical psychology program, but said President Bailey, one of his earliest messages, didn't deny the possibility of an in-person ceremony in the future. Is that still off the books? Has there been any updates in terms of that?
I think what he's always said or meant is aspirational, which is, this is what we would love to do. We would love to get people together, but it has to be safe. It has to be, conceivable for people to come together in a way that's really meaningful to people. So, could you get the BBS doctoral group together in Cowan? BBS maybe graduates like less than 10 doctoral students every year. Yes, you could get them together in Cowan, but they may not be allowed to bring guests. So is that meaningful? I don't think so. So I think what he's always meant is, if we can, I think he wants to, but it's just so unclear right now about what we can and can't do. And here in the news reports, so there's going to be a second wave. Okay, maybe. And so these are all the things that are weighing in his mind. And so anyway, so it's unclear. And I think that's a very frustrating answer, but it is unclear.
Thank you, Trish, for, I think it's everybody's feeling that we all feel the same. We are not completely happy, and we really wanted to do this the best we can in a safe way for everybody, in a way that really honors and protects everybody's work, right? And I do have the last question that's more for you, Yocasta. Student Jinma is asking, do you think there is a risk of not being able to return to the US for students who graduate and with OPT approved EAD card?
So, oh my goodness. In one of the most frustrating things that we're dealing with right now is not just COVID-19 and border closings and things of the sort, but also, an administration in the US that God knows what they're thinking from day to day. And I think part of the reason for this question is because of some information that at this point is out there in regards to optional practical training and whether or not that is going to be suspended. Right now, you don't have a risk of not being able to enter the United States. As of right now, you can still do this. Any decision regarding optional practical training is going to take some time. I also believe that any decision regarding to optional practical training and your ability to re-enter the United States will not affect individuals who already have their optional practical training. it is going to affect future, if anything, and I'm not saying that this is the case, if anything, it would be related to future applications. And I'm saying this just from experience on how these things work out in the end, is that, it's just the same issue that we had with applications for permanent residence and, immigrant visas. If you have it, you have it. Nobody's going to, they're not going to take it away from you. So if you're intending to return in May because you're on practical training, or in June and you have a valid F1 visa, I believe you're fine. I believe you'll be able to come back in. And again, this is our frustration as much as it is yours. We just don't know what the next step is going to be. We're going to continue to advocate against any, the government taking any move that would affect your ability to return on optional practical training. We will continue to advocate on your ability to obtain your visas, and for the consulates to, give you a fair review of your visa applications for the F1 status. We're going to continue that. As of right now, I don't believe that you're in any risk of not being able to re-enter, given the fact that you already have your optional practical training. It's been approved.
Thank you, Yocasta. I think bottom line that for me is keep yourself updated. If you are concerned, if you have questions, email Yocasta, email her team. They are really, really doing their best to keep students well informed and updated. Trish, would you like to share something else?
I have one more update before we go. So today there's going to be a special email that goes out from Provost Rowley in a few minutes that's going to give you some more information about the ceremony, and she's going to tell you that the website's going to launch live in 3 minutes. And then you can look forward to early next week a special announcement from President Bailey that'll go out by email to the whole community, graduates, and then the whole community. That's going to announce a very special guest speaker to Convocation. So look in your email for that. It'll come either next Monday or Tuesday.
Wonderful.
Ooh.
That's something really to look forward. And we got the exclusive. So for all of you who are watching this on replay after you've studied for your finals, you've lost the moment when we announced exclusively that in 3 minutes at 4 p.m., the new Convocation site will launch. So just let me see if I got this right. So we're meeting for the TC Convocation 2020 next Wednesday at 8 p.m. on convocation.tcdcolumbia.edu.
PM New York time.
New York time, bravissima. Grazie, Silvia. New York time, EST, or tc.edu/convocation. You can watch it through the website. You can watch it on Teachers College Facebook as a watch party. And there might be the chance of a chat on the website, but it's still in the works. We don't know very much about it. And if you live in China and you're concerned about the video platforms not being able to be watched from where you are, there will be additional platforms for you to watch the ceremony in China. Did I get it right?
That's 100% right. Amazing.
Yocasta, do you have any last words for the students that were here today with us and that were here today for this weeks of the semester joining us?
Just, keep, stay in touch with us. We're still here. We're listening to your questions. We will try. And, we're doing our best, as Silvia said, we're doing our best to keep you all informed. Once, we receive information from the US government, we try and pass that on immediately to our students. And for those who are graduating, I just want to say congratulations on behalf of the Office of International Students and Scholars. We are so proud of you. We are proud of your accomplishments. And I just, we wish we could celebrate with you in person, but we're going to take all of our energy, good positive energy, and we're going to put it out there during the convocation at 8 p.m., right? New York time. We are looking forward to seeing you there. And, Pierluigi, no, this is not the last, international homeroom. I don't care what I have to do. We're going to keep this going because it's an awesome program and our students appreciate it.
Thank you, Yocasta. Thank you so much. Thanks again to everyone watching. Thank you, Silvia, for being, half of this International Homeroom for all these weeks. Do you have any last goodbyes for students?
Yeah, thank you, Pierluigi, for leading us and organizing this space for all we, student community. And along with Yocasta, really wishing really good energies, good endeavors for all the graduates, and hope to see you soon back in fall for those who are staying with us. If not in person, some other way, because the most important part is that we stay connected.
Absolutely. And if you're struggling with this moment as well, with the convocation, with the graduation, you can reach out to us, studentwellness@tc.columbia.edu, or you can go to our website, tc.edu/studentwellness. We'll hear for you, and we will be there for you next Wednesday at 8 p.m. to congratulate you all on this amazing triumph, regardless of anything. Thank you so much for everyone with us. Congratulations to the graduates, and we'll see you very soon. Thanks, Trish, and thanks, Yocasta, for being with us.
Thank you for having me. Bye.
Bye.